Something that really bothered me when I was a kid was when you go on Biosector or just the Bionicle Wiki back in the day, and you'd be reading like up on some lore and whatever, and you would see like a character who was just like really cool, like he's like killing people, like he's doing sick stuff, and you're like, oh, I wonder what he looks like, and then you just go to the page and it says picture not available, and you're like, oh, what? Now, when I was a kid, I thought that was kind of stupid because I don't know. It felt like, why would you even create a character if he doesn't have an appearance or a face? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people must have felt like that as well when they were kids, or even now. And that's totally fine because, I mean, we do have the Bionicle canonization, or I mean, we did have the Bionicle canonization contest. Now we have the fanonization contest, I believe. But anywho, I was yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Bionicle characters not having images to associate them with because I was I mean I had my own Bionicle lore, sure, but at the same time I also really respected anything that came out of Greg Farshti's mouth. And I don't know, maybe because I was a kid and whatever adults said, I thought that was like true to like that's just the truth, but yeah, I mean, I do like his work, but there are some things in the story I do disagree with, and there's a lot of things I do agree with. Yeah, so for a time, it's been a while, but a time ago, I used to actually look up on the Biosector wiki and find characters who didn't have available forms or pictures available to represent them, and I would build like a version of them. I did it for a few characters, but because that was like really early on in my mocking days, I didn't actually take any photos or save the mocks. I took them apart because I had a limited amount of Bionicle parts when I first started. I remember actually building the sister of the Scrawl. That was one of the first ones I built. And them being females also can have a running theme in this for some reason. I don't know why. But anywho, you might be wondering why I have this Gorast here, and the reason why I have Gorast is because a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, but like a couple years ago, I built actually my version of a pre-mutated Gorast, because as we know, when the Makuta arrived in Cardinui, Krika, Bitzel, and Gorast, they all went down into the swamp of Cardinui, disguised as insects, but when they came in contact with the pit mutagen, they ended up getting stuck in these forms. So let's say that these guys actually did escape Cardinui. Well, they wouldn't be able to transform back into their pre-form. And as we know, Makuta kind of are just big dudes. Like, we know Makuta Icarax and Makuta Pterodax, like, just tall, imposing dudes, and we know them from the Miramax movie as well. So I kind of took that as inspiration a little bit when I built my version of a pre-mutated Gorast, and here she is. She's pretty big actually, because you can't really see her in completely on camera. If you want better images of her, I do have an Instagram where I posted photos of her quite a while back. And yeah, she was really fun to make. Trying to figure out all the pieces and where to go, that was of course the most fun part because I wanted to keep her color scheme consistent, being black and gray and lime green of course, and I think I pulled it off pretty well here. But on top of that, I wanted to also keep some details about her so she wouldn't be completely unrecognizable. For example, I kept her forearms because I thought that was pretty important to her character. I like the idea of her having four arms too. I think that's pretty neat. Surprisingly, from what I can recall, I think she's the only Bionicle character, like, the only Bionicle character actually with four arms. I don't know if the Viscerax, those are four legs, actually, never mind. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she was the only character that was released as a set with four arms, because now that I think about it, there were combiners that had four arms. And also, I wanted to keep, like, her legs. Like, you know how she has, like, in the original set, she has, like, these... She has, like, multiple, like, points of articulation in her legs. I wanted to keep that as well here with this. And I think it looks cool. Like, you have that big green thing, like, jutting out, like, to act as her thighs, just like how they use the Avmatorn limbs in the original set. And keep it black for the bottom part, which I use these Toa Metru lower leg pieces. And then this custom piece, like, it's just, I just put this like Technic stuff together, and it works actually extremely well as a foot. I believe I can actually make her stand up on one leg. Oh, one sec, let me get it a little bit closer in view, and there you go. Yeah, they're very stable. So on top of that, I also gave her waist articulation, because that's kind of what I like to do with MOCs. I like to give them waist articulation. I think articulation is one of like the best parts about a MOC. When I do mocking, I like to imagine like, hey, would this be a set? Like, could this be a fun set or something? Or would this be something that a child would want to play with? So I try and not do as much greeble, like system greeble, as I should to make my MOCs look nicer, because I hate like when pieces fall out when I'm building. For her head, actually, I wanted to kind of make her look a little more feminine, because the original, she's not very, you could think she's male, honestly, if you didn't read anything about the story. I thought Holly was male originally, actually, when I was 7, but I decided to give her like these dreads, because I like, and they're like kind of like just sticking out, because I imagine they'd be like tied up. She would want them, you know, not in her face when she's like running, or like she just wouldn't want it like when she's hunting somebody down. Also, I gave her these glowing eyes because I mean, she's a Makuta, and I bet she's always angry, because she just seems like she's always angry. Those come actually from a Ben 10 torso armor or whatever, and I've used them before also for my Roxy of Heat Vision. In a previous video I actually mentioned that. And one final thing I'll note is I wanted to keep it consistent, because like, as you know, she's a big fan of Pterodax, and I imagine she would have a similar weapon to Pterodax. She was fun to make, and I think she looks great. I don't really want to change anything about her. I think she looks amazing, but there are other MOCs I want to show off too, so I'll put her to the side right now, and I'll show off one MOC I actually built for a fanonization contest created by Duckbricks called Lariska. This is actually Greg Farsty, one of his favorite characters, and that was cool that he was able to do a contest for that. It's a shame it wasn't a canonization contest though, but whatever. She has not aged very well at all. If you guys don't like the way she looks, like, trust me, I'm there with you. Yeah, like, for example, her arm, super long for no reason, doesn't really bend that well. And her head is kind of cartoony in a way. It's all created using system, basically, and yeah, not so great. It's very reminiscent of Rudaka, because I have the hair and the head shape basically the same. There's not much to say about this one. I'm not a huge fan of like the lower legs, for like the legs, for example. They just don't really match the body. Also, she's a little too tall. She's a little bit taller than like a Metru build, and that seems kind of weird to me. I imagine she'd be short and like scary, not tall and threatening. So maybe that's why I did the cartoony look. I don't know. It's been a long time, and I haven't really thought about this MOC that much, because I'm not a huge fan of it. I did keep the waist articulation, and using these Technic panels, like, also I use them here as well. Like, using them for like a chest, or like or like a lower body armor, I think is cool. I just like the way that they look together. I think that's nice. And also I ran some tubes through that because I had some extra ones in teal. Overall, she's not really my favorite one out of the MOCs I'm going to show today, but she was a lot of fun to make, and that's really all I have to say about that. There's not really much else to say. The problem, I think, though, is that because teal is not a very it's not very common in Technic, that was kind of a problem when building her. Maybe I could have stuck to like dark green or like dark blue, and I probably would have more options, but hey, I mean, it is what it is, and I think she's alright for the most part. Not my favorite one though. And finally we have my build of Tuyet, also for Duckbricks' fanonization contest. Yeah, this one was a lot of fun to make, and it went through a bunch of revisions because a friend at the time told me that my original build, I actually originally built her with metallic blue and dark orange, but I thought that looked terrible, so I decided not to do that. Instead, stick to black because black had more options. Fun fact, she was the only entry in that contest to actually use metallic blue for her color scheme. And the fact that we had these two sets really that only gave us metallic blue for Technic, that being the Knight's Kingdom, Ron DeSantis Knight or whatever his name is, and the droid that gave us a bunch of metallic blue pieces. I was able to utilize that here and make this pretty cool looking MOC. Overall, she was a lot of fun to make, and the fact that she has like waist articulation too, I was able to get that in, was really fun. But I understand why she didn't win. For example, the black, I don't know, it kind of doesn't really make her stick out that much. And I mean, that's kind of what I was going for originally, because she is like a dark, shady character. I feel like she would be hiding in the shadows and things, and she would have like this muted color armor. It's kind of weird that I say that now because her primary color is metallic blue. But here it seems more like a secondary color. Yeah, wouldn't metallic blue like be shiny in like some like faint light? I actually even changed up the arms a little bit here. So I gave her these Zion Tyro custom wear hands. I replaced her lower Metru arms for just a standard CCBS like arm, like the one that goes up and down. I think it looks great here. The armors are up a little bit more too. The sword was actually like a lot of fun to make. She has a barbed sword, you know, so I ended up sticking like these wing pieces to the back of it because the sword can actually hold on to like bars, and then I added, you know, this 1x2 thin lift arm here to kind of like conceal that a little bit more. And I think it turned out pretty good from one side, but the other side, yeah, not so much. So it was kind of unfortunate that she didn't win, but at the same time, comparing it to the one that actually won, yeah, you can see why. She's very simple in build. It was a lot of fun to make, and I like to keep her around because luckily for me, I have enough Bionicle parts where I can actually keep MOCs like these built. And yeah, I don't know why I'm saying that, but I'm just grateful that I have enough parts that I don't have to take these apart, and they could just kind of live on in my collection for as long as I need them, or as long as I have space. So basically the point I'm trying to make with this video is, oh my god, this is all over the place, is that even though a character might not have a picture to represent themselves, that shouldn't stop you. Instead, you should be encouraged to actually build something to represent that character, if it's a character you do like, because there's all different kinds of characters who don't have a set form to represent themselves, like Tren Krom, for example. I heard he's just like a spongy red thing, so that wouldn't be too hard to build with like actual Lego, I feel. But yeah, that's just some thoughts I had on Bionicle characters who don't have anything to represent themselves in the form of a set. So yeah, guys, thank you all for watching, and please consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 6,000 subs, guys. Thank you, and bye.